What is up, everybody? I'm Vish Kumaran. This show is powered to you for you by BetUS. And we just received some massive breaking news as the 49ers are set to open their season at home tonight versus the New York Jets. Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers star running back, probably their best player, has been officially ruled out, and Jordan Mason is going to start at running back. Before I get into it, and right now we have 0 people, unfortunately, watching this live stream. So as we wait for a couple people to drop in here, I wanted to just show what Ian Rappaport has said for those who missed it and show the official, give you my thoughts on what I think happens, especially long term. There's maybe a bit more concern now about Christian McCaffrey's overall health and his ability to play the entire season. So let's start with what Rappaport has officially said. So right here, I'm on Ian Rappaport's Twitter. Let's go right here. This is what
to go.
Please let me know.
A massive surprise for the San Francisco 49ers. Mike Garafolo and I reported just a couple minutes ago, Christian McCaffrey is out for tonight's game. Was set to make his debut, of course, with the San Francisco.
So Christian McCaffrey is out tonight, as he says, set to make his debut. He reported this with Mike Garafolo. It's right here. Jordan Mason's going to start at running back tonight. McCaffrey has been listed as inactive after being questionable, after being limited in last week's practice with a calf Achilles injury. Of course, we know, as Max Kellerman so eloquently used to say with the Kevin Durant situation, the calf bone is connected to the Achilles bone. Now, I've seen Twitter doctors and real doctors contradict that statement and how stupid it can be to conflate a calf and Achilles injury. I'm not going to pretend to have medical expertise. All I know is that this calf strain that lasted an entire offseason affected the start of Joe Burrow's season last year. It was ultimately the injury that just wouldn't heal and forced Andrew Luck to retire. And it was obviously the Kevin Durant situation. Now, I'm not going to go totally negative because there's so many players who have recovered from a calf strain and we don't remember those stories because they weren't maybe outlier situations like those, and that's why we remember those. But I think the long-term health of McCaffrey coming into this season injured and then having to play the rest of this season, I don't know that he's ever going to be 100%, and that's obviously concerning given that he's the 49ers best players. Opening up to the chat, what are you guys thinking? Jedi says, this ain't good, boys. Pound JP all night. I think that they will pound a lot of Jordan Mason. He will get 15 to 20 carries. I actually just released my full preview on YouTube a couple minutes ago. You can go to my channel and watch the full video there. But one of the main things I talked about in this matchup, maybe that I see differently, even whether Christian McCaffrey is playing or he isn't playing, is I think this is going to be about the Niners' run game, obviously, as every game is, but their misdirection, their quick pass game, their screen game specifically. The Jets have a terrific front seven and a ton of team speed, and they're going to be a little aggressive, maybe over-aggressive, and I think the Niners are going to use that against them, getting them moving side to side and ultimately gashing them with bigger runs up the middle with Jordan Mason later. Ultimately, what I'm saying is, as big as a factor as I think JP, for example, will be, I think it's going to be about Deebo Samuel tonight. I think today's game is going to be about getting the ball into space, forcing these terrific Jets defenders to be able to make reads on the fly and then break down and tackle these terrific skill players like Deebo and not Christian McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason, I guess now, and George Kittle. I think that'll be the focus of this game, and I think this game is going to come down to Deebo. And it's primetime. Deebo loves playing in primetime. This is a game that's right on a silver platter for Deebo Samuel to show that, hey, he's still a superstar. Big Dez says, let's go JP Mason. Jedi is asking what JP's number is on Vegas. Maybe we will look at that here on this show. As I will remind you guys, we are powered by BetUS. This is a very official show these days. I'm not just a local YouTuber, if you will, like the local friendly Spider-Man. I'm now powered by BetUS, whatever that means or whatever credibility that brings me. Big Dez says Juice is going to catch some passes tonight. I could see that. I don't necessarily know if they're going to go heavier personnel against the Jets, who are primarily a nickel team. I think that's actually a great idea if we're thinking about it from Big Dez. The Jets just gave Michael Carter a ton of money. They are a good team and they play a lot of nickel. Carter is a good player, but I don't know that they have the size to match the 49ers in 21 personnel. I think Big Dez is kind of nailing it on the hammer. I think Niners are going to get big and then spread them out from getting big. And I think that's going to cause them problems. Harish Rajmohan says going to be a Deebo game. Ayuk limited snaps, but will be shut down by Sauce. Good test for Purdy to see if he's the highest paid QB. I don't really look at this game like that. I'm going to have to disagree with you, Harish. I don't know that they're going to challenge Sauce Gardner at all in this game. I compared this game to Rams games in the past, the way they never challenged Jalen Ramsey, but they always forced Ramsey to be involved in the game where the ball would come by him. He would have to tackle a Deebo in space, creating issues and kind of affecting his confidence because they were never throwing directly at him or putting him in positions to do what he's good at. I think they're going to do a similar kind of thing to Sauce Gardner. Agreed that, hey, it's going to be a big Deebo game. Agreed that he's going to be limited by snaps. Ayuk, excuse me. I don't know that he'll ever be directly shut down by Sauce because I don't know that there will be too many truly man-to-man isolated situations where it's mano-a-mano Ayuk versus Sauce. Where I disagree is the good test for Purdy. I think Shanahan is going to protect Purdy, and I don't think it's protecting Purdy because we're going to start having a conversation on whether he should be highest paid. I think it's protecting Purdy from this speed and ferocity of this front seven. The Jets' defensive line and how deep it is the one thing that can wreck the game for the 49ers. And then they're not going to risk that. This is going to be how they played Aaron Donald and the Rams in the years past. Similar defense in terms of team speed, bigger and stronger than the Rams were, but I think it's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of misdirection, short, quick passing game, get the ball out of Purdy's hands, get the ball into space. All about Kittle and Deebo. That's how I see it tonight. Jedi says he thinks that Juice scores the first touchdown. That's interesting. That's a crazy bet. My buddy used to take Kayvon Looney first bucket all the time. Taking Juice first touchdown. No disrespect to Kayvon Looney. No disrespect to Juice. It feels a little bit like that, but it is tasty. I'll give you that. Big Dez is with me. He says Shanahan's going to try to attack the Jets linebackers, make them cover in space. I agree. Make them tackle in space, all of that. King Hootnar says, Vish, let this not be long-term. Too much dancing at the wedding. Honestly, I don't know at this point. I really don't know at this point. This is one of those tricky injuries where you're going to have people, and I guess we kind of know what side people in the 49ers media are going to take, but you're going to have people that are going to say, this is end of the world, catastrophic. This is the end of the world. Then you're going to have people say, this is just precautionary. It's not a big deal. Like most things, like all things, honestly, with 49ers Twitter and football, it's probably somewhere in the middle. This is probably a bigger problem than just being precautionary because, again, I don't think precautionary means you don't just play him just because it's week one. They pay the guy $16 million. Jed York isn't going to tell a Christian McCaffrey to sit healthy just because he's taking precautionary measures with his injuries. These guys are paid to play, and they are expected to be out on the field if they're healthy. So he's clearly not healthy. That's where we're starting from. Now, in terms of the extent or how the 49ers have handled it, stuff like that, it's way too soon to comment on that situation. It's so easy to jump to conclusions and have an opinion. His calf isn't good enough. It's an Achilles issue, all of those things. We can take those opinions as we see information come in. Right now, I would say the number one thing that we can say is he is currently not healthy. And as King Hootnar says, let's hope this is not long-term because even though I agree to an extent with Jan Chisella's comment here that a lot of fans are going to agree Christian McCaffrey's a cog in Shanahan's well-oiled machine. I've made this comment about the entire 49ers offense. I've been like, hey, we talk about the quarterback and how he's brought up by the system, but so is a Kittle, totally propped up by the system. A Juszczyk, a Brandon Ayuk in some ways, a Deebo Samuel in a lot of ways. I kind of stopped that line at Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams. Christian McCaffrey was a first-team All-Pro with crap in Carolina. He had the ghost of Cam Newton playing quarterback. He had Kyle Allen playing quarterback. It was not that good of a team, and he was a first-team All-Pro with a 1,000 season. I think he's a little bit more special than these other weapons. Him and Trent Williams are the two guys that I go, they would be first-team All-Pro players no matter what without the system. So while I agree he benefits from the system's also benefiting from Christian McCaffrey. And I expect Jordan Mason to be able to run the football. well and effectively. A lot of it is going to be game plan specific. And I think it kind of opens up because, again, I think they're going to try to stretch this defense horizontally and then take advantage of those large gaps they create in doing so. That's perfect for Jordan Mason's run style. I think he's going to run downhill and effectively in this game. But the onus, the big shouldering, what Christian McCaffrey is for this offense, who he is, that stardom, it comes down to Deebo Samuel to me. This is a game, as Harish said earlier in this chat, it's about Deebo Samuel. And it's a great opportunity for us. The Niners restructured Deebo's contract. I didn't make a video on it, frankly, because I felt like all the available opinions on Deebo's contract were taken. Oh, are they going to bring him back now? Well, they brought Armstead back. What happens? We don't know. This is the opportunity for Deebo Samuel. Week 1, prime time versus the Jets, versus Aaron Rodgers. This game is going to get a ton of hype. ESPN is going to talk about it tomorrow. Deebo Samuel can make a statement on being part of the 49ers and winning the hearts of fans to be a bigger long-term part of the 49ers in the upcoming years. I think a lot of people have written him off. This game is going to be about him for me. Leo Chris agrees with me. For all the sauce is going to lock down Ayuk comments. Remember, Salah doesn't run man, and if he does, who plays Kittle and Cowing? Yes, I said Cowing. I don't think they'll have too many issues matching up with Cowing between Michael Carter and DJ Reed. I would say and I think it's mainly one person. I think the 49ers corner trio of Ward, Diamador Lenore, and Isaac Yadam has gotten maybe a little too much fanfare this offseason. This is a real trio that I think is arguably the best in football. Reed is as good as Lenore. Sauce Gardner is going to be the best corner in this game, even though Mooney Ward is very good. And Michael Carter is a better nickel than anybody the 49ers have. And so I do think that's a better trio. I don't know about Cowing, but he's right. And he's also right. Salah does run man with the Jets. In fact, that's more of a Jeff Ulbrich thing. They do that in Atlanta. But I think versus the 49ers, and this is where the man versus zone issue comes in with Christian McCaffrey. Versus the 49ers on early downs, it's very difficult to run man coverage. You get a lot of 3 deep. You get a lot of single high. You're so scared of this run game. And I think with that, again, a lot of opportunities. Taylor Gang says he's glad to have me back. I'm glad to be back too. I've had such a busy couple of months at work as I've tried relaunching my YouTube channel. It hasn't necessarily gone as smooth as I would have liked, but I'm hoping that here we are in NFL season and we're going to have an amazing opportunity to watch a lot of football together and hopefully talk about it for a long time. I want to be live for maybe, 20, 30 more minutes here, talk about the game, talk through what I think is going to happen. This is so exciting. 49ers football is back, baby. Taylor Gang says the 49ers defense is going to show the world that they are the number 1 defense. Is everybody generally high on the 49ers defense this year? I am not, dare I say, and I don't know what not being high on them is because I still think they're going to be really good. I just don't think they're better, if that makes sense. They struggled without Greenlaw last year. This is the least talent, I think, top to bottom, and the least depth they've had on their defensive line. I look at those two things, and then I look at the safety question mark with Brown possibly taking a step, missing Gibson, don't like Odom as his replacement. Obviously, Hufunga's coming back from an injury, which has him on a will he or won't he play week 1? He's still coming back. I have a couple more questions there, but maybe early in this game, they'll show that they're the number 1 defense. We only got to see a couple snaps of Rodgers last year, but a team that's cutting on, a 3-step quick slant, or a 1-step slant, actually. They cut block on it, and that was the play he got hurt. Tells me they're terrified of their offensive line. So this might be a favorable matchup early in the seasons for the 49ers, but I don't love their defense this year, honestly. I don't. Vish, how many touchdowns? Wow. You said J-O, and I said TDs. Is Jordan Mason getting? I think he'll score 1. I think this is a Deebo Samuel game. And I think when they get into the red zone, they're going to give Deebo the ball. The one thing with Deebo that is very interesting and underrated in his career is he scores a touchdown once every 14 or 15 touches or so. The guy around the red zone, he sniffs the end zone and he has that excellent acceleration and mean contact balance. And that's why He's such a phenomenal red zone weapon. I would pick Deebo as maybe the number one prop scorer or the number one guy that I think would score on the 49ers offense. Yubuki says this is going to be a boring field goal fest. The 49ers win 17-12. I see a field goal fest as well, but I think that's mainly because of week one. I picked 24-16. To be fair, I picked it before Christian McCaffrey news came in, and then I kind of stuck with it. I could see 17-12. I do feel like the 49ers kind of pull away from this game a little bit later. I don't think the Jets will have it all together to compete with the 49ers week one. And I think the 49ers are just a team that's been waiting for the season to get here, and they'll be ready for the season. Now, I think some of the issues that have been introduced this offseason and have been discussed will be points of conversation at different points this season. I know that's not a very specific prediction from me, but I think ultimately we won't see those issues that I brought up rear their ugly head versus the Jets, even though this is kind of a difficult matchup, dare I say. Rick Diaz, I just named him Ricky, says, let's go 49ers, my friend. Are you ready for football? I'm ready for 49ers football here in Chicago. Let's go. Here in Chicago, representing. There we go. Another person from Chicago. I think this is actually the perfect time, guys, for me to tell you about the sponsor of this show. BetUS. Let me share my screen and show you what a wonderful opportunity that you can get from BetUS, and then I will get right back into this show. So there's my screen, guys. I'm here on the props for the 49ers Jets game. BetUS has this amazing offer this year with promo code YouTube150 where you can get 150% match up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. You can do that using promo code YouTube150. Guys, the immediate props that I would come to right away is people are talking about the Jordan Mason props. For me, my favorite ones are related to the score. And some of the ones that I liked immediately, and I talked about it, is one, the over on the 3.5 field goals. This is now even on the money line. When I was looking at it before, it was positive odds. That's one I would take. I think the Christian McCaffrey injury, his ability to score touchdowns, obviously has had people betting this to an even line. The other one that I'm going to take, guys, and I like the 49ers to win this by a larger margin of victory, 6 or more points. This is one that has positive odds on the money line. I would take it. I think the 49ers have a tendency to pull away, and I think the Jets are a team that they can pull away from. But, guys, BetUS, place to be this offseason. Promo code YouTube150 for 150% match up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Join now. That's all I got from an advertisement. Let's get back to the comments. Brandon says, are we getting a week 12 Blake and Vish reunion for the preview? Probably not. I think Blake's pretty self-contented, not doing YouTube anymore. He's got a lot going on in his life. I can maybe ask him, see if he's interested in doing a special show. Of course, I would like to be more consistent streaming and doing a better job of doing that by that point too. So the onus will be a little bit on me, but maybe we can try and swing it. I would have to say probably not. Alien Jazz Party asks me this: do the players get medicals before they sign large contracts? From London, don't know. They obviously do, but I think that sorry, I got distracted for a second. I think that sometimes maybe they have a tendency to play through those injuries. They're more likely to play through them given if money's on the line. I certainly understand that. I think that's human nature. But I think part of getting your money is maybe not wanting to take that additional risk because you want that money to come long term. And for Christian McCaffrey, they gave him a massive extension this offseason, and I'm sure that he's 100% focused on football. But in the back of his mind, he knows that this could be the last big payday of guaranteed money he could get. And he needs to take precautions with his body to maybe get himself potentially one more. Now, I think that that's a very crude view of the NFL and its business practices and all of that, but I think it's a definite possibility. Now, I'm certainly not saying he isn't hurt or that's why he's not out. I think we've established in this video that we definitely think this injury has a level of seriousness. Otherwise, he would not be out. This is Christian McCaffrey. He's playing football if he's healthy, but I do think that's a case of why I guess players tend to sit out once they get those large contracts. I think that's what you're saying. David Reinhardt says I suck. Which I could see that. It depends who you talk to. Some people like me. Some people do think I suck. He says, say CMC is out, but who not to pick up? Please never get on my recommend page again. Thanks. Sorry, pal. Take Jordan Mason. That's who you need to pick up. I'm assuming he's already picked up in your league. That's not that big of a deal. Come on now. Why you got to hate on me like that? I might suck, but Jordan Mason, guys, the comment was helping you. Is Deebo and Brees the lock of the night? I do think that. I think Brees Hall is going to have a good game too. I agree with that, but the lock of the night, I would say, is Deebo. Do I do fantasy? No. Biggest fantasy football hater out there. Maybe we'll do a full conversation on why I hate fantasy football in a live stream. I have so many strong opinions against it. The guy is in here, my guy, the coach. Shout out to him. The number one YouTuber, in my opinion, in all of 49ers. That's right. The best man, the coach. Shout out. Brandon Vincent says, do I have similar expectations for this year compared to recent years? I actually don't. I looked at the 49ers the last 3 years as a hands down Super Bowl favorite and the Super Bowl favorite from the NFC. This year, I think the Lions are the Super Bowl favorite from the NFC. Now, I've been wrong about the Lions just about every year in the past 3 years. I've always thought they're going to be bad, and they've been progressively getting better, and they were very good last year. Maybe I'm wrong about them again, but I do have different expectations because this is the first time I don't look at the roster top to bottom, 1 to 53, and go, yeah, they're 100% the best team in the NFC. No, I don't say that. JD Durham says, if I ask Kyle, do you run screen passes? Would you say yes, we run checkdowns? No, I think they have a lot of schemed up screens. A lot of them are extensions of their run games. But I think this idea of checking it down too is more sophisticated than simply checking it down. Sometimes a lot of these checkdowns that look like checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey are kind of option routes where they've kind of opened up space and they're trying to isolate one matchup with him versus a linebacker, and he's got a two-way go. He's basically uncoverable in those situations. Purdy has great sense of timing and always stays in a good spot to throw from those situations, no matter what's going on in the pocket, and it allows them to play on time and on schedule. I don't think that he would call those checkdowns at all. In fact, I don't know that they check the ball down as much as people maybe might say they do, although I tend to make these arguments against what people are saying a lot. And yeah, to be fair, there's a lot of that's quite vague on my part. George Shuttlewood said, week 1, if the 49ers lose, I'm going to hate the content this week. A lot of channels have been shizzing. Thank you for keeping it PG. Vish Kumaran show, PG show. Come on, guys. We respect the children. Not that. I shouldn't have said that. That was weird. But been shizzing on the 49ers. They haven't played yet. If they lose, it's going to be ugly. I don't know that if they lose, it's going to be ugly because they're playing the Jets. If they lose, it's going to be all about the Jets this, the Jets that, the Jets this, the Jets that. And if they win, it's going to be about the Jets this, the Jets that, fire Saleh, fire this. Rodgers isn't the same, whatever. So I don't know that the content is going to be that crazy regardless of the 49ers lose, just a product of who they're playing. I know that I'm going to turn on ESPN and Greeny is going to go, Louis Riddick, let me come to you now. So the Jets just lost this game 24-16. What happens now with Aaron Rodgers? Are they screwed? And Louis Riddick is going to give 2 sentences. You know what I mean? This is what Get Up is going to do. Stephen A. and Shannon might spend a couple of segments talking about Aaron Rodgers. The only show that I think will maybe cover the 49ers and hammer them is First Things First. So I don't know that it's going to be an ugly kind of week if they lose. But that wouldn't be I guess there would be other games that I would pick for that to happen. Coach says, I love you, bro. We got to get up again. You bet, Coach. We do got to get up again. You know it. Going through the comments here. Jedi thinks the Lions are fake news. I don't think that, but I like that someone else thinks that. Shout out to him. Zach Rychik, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says Mike Williams is the call. I could see him finding the end zone on a deep ball from Rodgers. So I think what's interesting is it depends who guards Mike Williams, because if Mooney Ward's on Mike Williams, I don't see Mike Williams being able to beat him vertically. I agree with Zach Rychick in the sense that he's an element to this Jets offense that hasn't existed years in the past, in the sense that they have somebody that's just truly a vertical game breaker. Like Mike Williams, when he's healthy, that's like 7 games a year. He can run by anybody in the NFL, and he's a threat vertically against anybody. That's a scary matchup. Teams have to worry about Mike Williams game in and game out. Problem is, I don't really see him doing that against Mooney Ward. And then something I talked about in my preview show is if you go back and watch Aaron Rodgers the last couple of years, there was a real reluctance from him to be able to throw the football outside the numbers and stand in the pocket and make aggressive throws outside the numbers. And against the 49ers, specifically against the versions of defense that they play, that they do now, this scheme from Robert Saleh to DeMeco Ryans to Steve Wilkes to now the Sorensen Brandon Staley conversation, he's been very reluctant to throw the football to the middle of the field against them. And that's because of Fred Warner, right? So because of those two things, and I'm not convinced in his ability to stand in the pocket and throw the ball outside the numbers deep outside, and I like Mooney Ward against Mike Williams, I guess I'm a little anti Mike Williams finding the end zone in this. I do think it's a fair take, and I understand where you're coming from. My argument against it would be exactly that, and that it's almost why I'm kind of picking against the Jets in this game, just because I don't see the real opportunity for Aaron Rodgers to really stand in the pocket and make the kind of throws that will be available, I guess. People even compare him to Brady with the Bucks. If you go back and watch Brady with the Bucks, the one thing he had was when they protected him and they went max protection, Brady was willing to uncork that thing. He was willing to stand tough and tall in there and throw the football deep and down the field. Rodgers doesn't really have that anymore. And yeah, I think that we're going to see that tonight, honestly. Do I think the Jags fire Doug after this season? Well, I picked that, right? I picked the Jags to be an absolute disaster. So that's what, yeah. Let's see. Always the O-line as long as Brock can operate with any trouble. So this isn't an O-line conversation to me. This is actually a Shanahan conversation, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is not to be mean to the 49ers O-line, but matchup to matchup, if we do a personnel and we run down the Jets defensive line and we run down the 49ers offensive line, they're extremely overmatched. The Jets defensive line is very talented, and top to bottom, they have talent that really challenges the 49ers. So I think they are overmatched. That's very much a fair statement in my mind. Now, why do I think it comes more than the offensive line? Because to me, offensive line play, the more important thing first when it comes to offensive line play is unit continuity and everybody knowing their job and being able to play together. I think that's even more important than having 5 of the most talented guys. And I think that's often why when you look at 49ers offensive line metrics like run blocking, pass blocking, they end up somewhere in the middle of the league, lower half of the league. They're never truly as egregious as sometimes the eye visual can tell us when a team has got a pass rush that's very aggressive and getting after Brock Purdy. It's because they play with good chemistry, they know how to do their job, and oftentimes they're schemed up in the right positions to play. To me, this is a scheme game. This is similar to when, Daniel Brunskill, quote unquote, would shut down Aaron Rodgers. That was all scheme, all set up, misdirection, get Aaron Donald moving one way, get good angles to be able to block him. That's what this offensive line game is going to be about. That's why I don't see this being a game where we know, hey, Brock Purdy is 100% a $65 million quarterback. Not that he can't be that guy. I don't think he'll be asked to do a lot. I think they will rely on their screen game. They will rely on their quick pass game. They'll rely on running the football, because if they don't, this defense will eat them alive. It's just smart coaching and smart football. Coach said, missing my post-game partner right now. Just hit me. Hey, we got to start this up next Sunday. I'm with Rob tonight, but next Sunday, Coach, we got to do it. We got to do it. OKM 30 says take 16.4. Mason won't get receptions. Harish asked me, have I changed my Bengals #1 seed take? I shouldn't I? I won't change it out of respect to the take. It looks awful. The Bengals looked awful. I think New England will be still one of the worst teams in the NFL. That felt like a loss from the 49ers to the Bears versus Justin Fields in 2022 week 1. But yeah, that was gross. And by the way, the OKM one I picked up was take the 16.4 points from Tony Pollard or start Jordan Mason. I think Mason will score tonight. I don't necessarily know how the scoring works in your league. Brandon Vincent says, how do I feel about the safety position this year? And maybe we could leave this. This is my last comment. I'm not as convinced, honestly, when it comes to the 49ers safety. I've been talking about Hufanga and Brown being redundant players, and I stand by that take. I think they're the same player. I think they provide the same role on this 49ers defense. And I don't necessarily know that they're going to play complementary with each other as much as they kind of supplement each other. And I think right now Brown's in a good spot because Hufanga's not there. I could be totally wrong. I don't necessarily see them as a long-term duo. So then coming to the position of who can kind of play in the deeper third when they need to, who can kind of fit the run from depth, make tackles in the alley, something both Brown and Hufanga have struggled with in their career. They feel like Malik Mustafa has profiled as the guy to play next to them perfectly. Odom is not a starting safety. He's a special teamer to me. Gibson was a starting safety, and I think Tracy Walker would be the guy who would start in a situation that the season continues, because I don't necessarily see Odom as a full season starter. Granted, he might have improved. I'll put that disclaimer out. This is my brief ability to watch George Odom the last few years. I don't necessarily see a starter. And because of that, because of Hufanga's health, I'm not 100% sure that this position is set in stone. The nickel position is still up in the air for me, especially in games that maybe they don't want Lenore playing in there. If there becomes an injury on the outside to Yadam, or maybe it's Renato Green, I'm interested to see what happens, but I don't know that that position is maybe a set in stone as people have talked about. Last year, everyone said Isaiah Oliver was the guy. He was the nickel. I was the one person who said from the moment they signed him, I'm not convinced he's going to win the job. Everybody said he's guaranteed to start. He's making this team. And then 2 weeks before, we didn't know he was making this team. I said the same thing about the nickel position 2 years ago with Sam Womack. I said Diamador Lenore was the best nickel on the team. He ended up being the guy that started. And then Jimmy Ward ultimately took the job. I'm not saying that I'm always right, but I've noticed a trend with 49ers content creators that if I don't remind you of the takes that I got right, then my opinion doesn't have credibility. So even if I put every single take out there, I need to remind you guys the 2 or 3 that I got right over and over again so you remember. I'm joking. That doesn't mean anything. The point is, that's really what I see in the safety position. Of course, there's opportunity for me to be wrong. Of course, it's open for you guys to disagree, and it means nothing that I was right a couple of times about the 49ers nickel position. I just wanted to take a shot because I'm a little sick of, hey, I said this. I was the one who said this, so therefore this. Come on now. We don't need to do that. Pretty Good says, I want to cry. Come on, man. The NFL season is starting. It is time. The GOAT says, do you think Renato Green will play today? I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. Hind is asking me, are you saying I'm the most objective? Am I? That's a good question. I think that, I've provided the most objective and compelling and perfect analysis so far. Am I doing that right? Is that how you're supposed to say it? No, at the end of the day, I'm a 49ers fan. I wouldn't even tell you that I'm objective. I think part of these conversations is I just give my opinion. I'm open to having the conversation with you guys, but yeah, that's where I'm at. Mr. Pink says, hey, I have no idea who Jordan Mason is. Can you please tell me who he is and can he produce? So Jordan Mason's a running back from Georgia Tech that's been on the 49ers for a couple years. People have compared him to Marshawn Lynch. That's crazy, right? He's not Marshawn Lynch, but I feel like he's like Marion Barber. He's a big guy. He runs heavy. He averages almost 5.5 yards a carry for his career, almost 6 yards. The guy is a terrific runner. The question with him and why he hasn't gotten an opportunity in the past has been about being assignment sound as a pass blocker and as a receiver. He has improved in those areas tremendously and gotten a lot of confidence from the 49ers coaching staff. He will run the football successfully. I think the game kind of opens up for him because, again, I think the 49ers are going to challenge this Jets defense horizontally, use their team speed against them, having them moving side to side, and then ultimately gash them with Jordan Mason up the middle, up the gut, a lot of those duo runs, stuff like that. And I think when you look at it like that, I think he's going to have a pretty strong game. Torque Lewis says, do I start Deebo or Jordan Mason? Either or, man. I think they're both great options. I think those are the two 49ers to play tonight. I think Deebo is more likely to score, but as Jaffeloff perfectly says it, Jordan Mason has a bigger floor. He has the bigger floor. Guys, we're an hour away from game time. We're coming up close. He's saying, oh, shoot, Mr. Pink, good luck, buddy. Down 30 points, Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, he might have been able to get you back in that. I'm not sure if Jordan Mason will do that, but hopefully he will. Go Niners, guys, tonight. Remember, this show is powered by BetUS. Appreciate you guys joining me here to preview this game. I'll be on with Rob Guerrera tonight to give you my post-game thoughts. Hopefully it's after a 49ers win. And yeah, he's right. It's 20 minutes from game time. That's my mistake. My computer has, the clock hasn't changed. So I saw the wrong time on the computer. Third String All Pro is absolutely right. We're very close to game time. Go Niners tonight. Remember, this show is powered by BetUS. Please like, subscribe, share, everyone. I will be back tomorrow giving you some more post-game thoughts on the game. Hopefully we'll have some more clarity on the Christian McCaffrey injury situation by then. I'm expecting a huge Deebo Samuel game tonight. That's what I'm going with. Jordan Mason as well. Go Niners. We'll see you guys in the post-game with Rob Guerrera. Have a good one.